in today's video, we're going to be talking about our top MCs for this generation. We're going to be going over like six characters. We're going to go over Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man. We got Boruto. Um, did I already say Demon Slayer? Attack on Titan, and My Hero Academia. We're going to go over the top anime. These are just shonen, so it's not going to be anything that's no free run. Not going to be any like romance anime. This is going to be just strictly shonen anime. We already recorded this video, so we're going to get into it right now, and here it is. No, after watching the My Hero movie, and My Hero just ended, JJK just ended, Demon Slayer ended a couple years ago. And I mean, it seems like a whole new, we haven't seen Chainsaw Man is coming back kind of, I think in the next like year. They're supposed to
Hmm.
come out with a movie, but now they moved it back. Don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, um, I had the question of what do you think is the best main character? And I just set the parameter. Oh, Attack on Titan ended. I set the parameters for 10 years because I don't want to fight with anybody. I don't whatever you want to call the new gen is. I'm not including like Kageabouchi. I'm not doing any of that stuff right now. I'm not counting Don to Don. Last 10 years, I have Boruto, I have Demon Slayer, I have Attack on Titan, I have JJK, I have Chainsaw Man. What do you think is the best MC? We can go from like the worst to the best. I have honorable mentions to like Shinra from Fire Force, Mob from Mob Psycho, and Asta. We just haven't I haven't watched all of Fire Force. She hasn't watched it at all. I'm almost done with Fire Force, but I don't think it's right for me to count if you haven't watched it. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't want to I want my opinions to be based on a noggin.
yeah, and like I've watched a little bit of Black Clover. I know people are gonna like attack. Weirdly enough, Black Clover is such a weird like anime. Like I know a bunch of people who swear by that show, and like I know it has a huge popular following, but like
Yeah, a lot of people love Black Clover.
I can't get into it. I don't know what it is about that show.
I
I'll
haven't
have to give it another
started.
try.
I've never
Uh,
tried.
and then I also give it the honorable mention, obviously, the Asta from Black Clover. So our main ones are going to be Denji, Tanjiro, Yuji, Deku, Eren, and Boruto. Yeah, I'm calling Boruto because he's Naruto's son, and you gotta do it. So, what are your? Let's just go with the two bottom ones. What are yours?
Very bottom one is Denji, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get that.
Unfortunately. Um, he's a victim. Justice for Denji.
No, for real.
He's not. No, poor Denji. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't really like necessarily feel bad for like Denji, but like at the same time, I almost liked who's the other guy that I really love in Chainsaw Man? Of course, who the guy I really love in Chainsaw Man is the guy I don't know.
Hayakawa.
Aki. Yeah, Aki. Like love
Aki Hayakawa.
as soon as he took over as like the main character for the latter half of that show, in my opinion, for the latter half of that show, I really was like, this show peaked for me. I was almost gonna stop watching Chainsaw Man after the first like 7 episodes because I was like, I just really didn't like Denji, don't like Power at all. Wasn't really infatuated with like Makima like a bunch of weirdos are. You if you like Makima, you're not a weirdo. I just think you're weird. But like I didn't really like all that.
I don't think you're a weirdo. I just think you're weird.
um
Okay, buddy.
but yeah, I didn't really like it. But then as soon as Aki took over as main character and we find out his backstory and you just see his powers and obviously like he's such a cool guy, like
Yeah.
and how he kind of loves like he likes you see the bond forming between him and Denji, and I almost like that more than I actually like Denji making any bonds with anybody else. And that's why I like and especially dude, the last episode of Chainsaw Man where he's making the deal with the demon or whatever he's doing. I was like, this is sick. Like, this was so sick. That battle that he had too with when the one girl whose body parts disappear with
Yeah.
even though she's like a terrible person. Like that kind of scares me. I hate it. I don't, it scares me when like body parts disappear, like they cut to a different part, then they cut back and it's like she a part of her's missing. Like I hate that. That just scares me for some reason. You ever watch what was that movie with it was with Bruce Willis, I think, and it was like they would go back in time. It was with Jake Gyllenhaal. They would go back in time, and then it
Oh,
was like something that happens in the future would happen to him in the past. Uh,
oh,
you know what I'm
yes.
talking
I
about that. I don't
yes,
we don't
yes.
got to rack
I
our
don't
head on
remember
the
the
name of it.
name.
But
Yeah.
that movie freaked me out. The movie
That was a good
absolutely
movie though. I haven't seen it in a long time.
that movie makes me itch. Like when his young self is getting his like arm or leg cut off and he's running and his leg like pops off. That was crazy. I hate that. Like I absolutely hate that. But yeah, that really reminded me of that. But anyway, my point being is I could talk a long time about Aki, and I've only watched the show once. And I do not care about Denji whatsoever. Not that saying he's a bad character. I just, for me personally, I
No, yeah,
just don't care.
he's absolutely not a bad character. I think that for me personally, there are like harder hitting characters that I feel have more like MC vibes, if
Yeah,
that makes sense, than
yeah.
Denji. But I do feel bad for Denji. Denji is a product of his environment, and I do feel very bad for him, especially because like I know you haven't like continued, you haven't like read
Kind
Chainsaw
of.
Man.
I know what happens. Kind of.
Okay. Yeah, because I stopped. When did I stop? I think I stopped around chapter 100 or so. So I'm not like fully up to date, but up until like where the anime ends to that point, that was so bad for Tenchi. I also agree. Aki is my favorite character, and you can't see it, but I have a that's a Chainsaw Man poster right there. um, with has Aki in it. I love Aki. So I'm excited for you to continue and to see what happens
Yeah,
with that.
I've heard that Denji becomes a better character.
He does.
I've read the last like not I've read slash watch slash I don't know third person viewed
I've
somebody else.
experienced.
Yeah, I've experienced the last like six chapters of Chainsaw Man, and while they've been crazy, also like so disgusting. I think I showed you that one where like he like the stuff that gets on his hand.
Yeah.
He does the
Yeah.
Shinji. He pulls the Shinji on us.
Like,
Like,
congratulations.
it is so gross. You
Congratulations.
just feel bad for the good things. Bad. Who I forget what the name of Chainsaw Man author is, but
Yeah.
that guy's a fucked mind. But yeah,
Pretty sure
also
Denji is a self insert, also.
probably, and
I
also
think
just
he is
like
his self insert.
for like anybody who's watching, me and her don't have the same like list of like where our ranks are, which is I'm
No.
just seeing. I'm honestly just asking her what she thinks, and I'm gonna tell you what my characters are there. But yeah, so like Denji is probably the lowest rank is the lowest rank for us there. What's your next one?
Deku.
Oof, I disagree. I
I know you
disagree
disagree with me. And
completely.
this
Okay, go ahead. Go
this
ahead.
is
This is
partially
what
what we talked
spawned.
about.
Yeah, this is what spawned the entire
Yeah, this is
conversation.
we had just gotten done watching Your Next, and we yap. We constantly yap. So we just our conversation spiraled into this, and I just kind of went on the my I don't like Deku train. And so here we are. Okay. So I
Tell
don't.
the people why,
It's it's not okay. It's
and
not
then we
that
could point
I.
and laugh.
No, don't shame me. It's not that I dislike. It's not that I dislike Deku. I just don't feel that he's like for me. This is all for me. I don't relate to him. I don't I found him extremely annoying to begin with, so it was hard for me to kind of connect with him later on as the plot progressed. But I understand people's arguments as to why he's their favorite and why they like him. Like I don't disagree. It's just not for me. Um, and I feel that once we get to like the top, that's when people are gonna shame me because for the reasons that I dislike Deku, I like other characters more.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
but
I disagree with this pick.
she, it's fine. It's fine. He just I don't think that he uh like I know that he inspires people and he's very inspiring and that's the point. He just I don't connect with him and I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's all opinion based. Not there's no actual fact of any of this stuff. So whatever you want to say, you could believe it. Don't think that.
Believe
I
it.
definitely I yeah, believe it for no. But speaking of believe it, I'm actually gonna put Boruto here. I love
Hmm.
Boruto. I'm a big
I
Boruto
didn't
apologist.
expect that. You are a Boruto
Yeah,
apologist.
I don't think you can really add. I mean, you can, but whatever. It's our choice. It's our parameters. But like, I don't really think you can add in two blue vortex into this yet because while it's been out like a
Wow.
year, I think it's hard. I think a lot of people are still caught up on the fact that like the majority of the Boruto anime has been like, I mean, it's so bad. The manga is so much better. Like I really like him as a character in the manga and like I wish you would read it. But like it is such a good he's such a good character. The only problem that is like really that I have or that I feel like a lot of people would agree with is just like the anime did such a bad job of portraying him as a character that like has problems because
Mhm.
the manga does a better job of showcasing why he's different from his dad and how he's like not just Naruto 2.0 while like the manga just shows him as kind of like a bratty kid and he kind of doesn't like
Mhm.
he doesn't have any character growth and there's nothing really there and I think it's because it's spaced out so weirdly. I mean, I could go on and on about how I dislike the Boruto anime, but love the Boruto manga. But like, I just feel like how the outlook on it has been with the public. It's hard for me to say that he's like an impactful MC. Like, and it's funny because you don't even hear him being talked about in anything with the MC with like MCs of the future. Like, I know he's not
Mhm.
necessarily like how would you say it like part of the new gen like how like whoever the ones that we're talking about now because like he is a transplant of Naruto's success so it's kind of
He's a
hard for me
nepo
to
baby.
yeah so it's kind of hard for me to even like say he's like a top MC in that way but I'm adding him because I think it's relevant now because Boruto 2 Blue Vortex has put out I think 20 or so chapters, and every single chapter besides like one has been like absolute fire. And like it's
Mhm.
hard for me to tell you that right as soon as this gets animated and Studio Period has already said that they're pushing it out to another studio, which I'm hoping that it's the same thing that they gave to Bleach, they're gonna do with Boruto. And like, dude, people are gonna flip. You're gonna be like, oh, it's crazy. It's totally nuts. Whatever. But for right now, Boruto is like down here for me. Is what it is, Boruto. I'm surprised you have Boruto higher than Denji and Deku, honestly.
Well, because I thought we were going off of like entirety of like anime and manga representation because if we're also including manga representation,
Yeah.
I albeit I haven't watched the anime nor have I read the manga, I live vicariously through him in
Yeah.
my knowledge of Boruto. But from what he's told me, I would agree. Like I rank him higher because of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool guy. I
yeah,
just for me.
he sounds pretty cool. I'm like that
Yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
I mean, I'm fighting. I'm being a hypocrite too at the same time. It's like I know it's been out for like a year, the manga to Blue Vortex, so it's like I could have him higher. I just don't feel like it's something about it just doesn't feel fair to me. I don't know
I
how to
just
explain
don't
it.
really feel like it.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right to me. Okay, so we did our bottom two. We're gonna move into like the mid tier, midish tier. That's like the bottom. They're like, this ain't these guys aren't it. This is gonna be like you could make some good arguments for these next two people. So go
Hmm.
ahead. What is your next one? If your next one's Boruto, Like that's fine. So yeah, if
Yeah.
yours is Boruto, I get why. He just kind of explained
My
it.
next
You
one would be Boruto. And
yeah,
I can't like argue too much because like I said, I haven't seen it, I haven't read it. But based on what you've told me and based on what I've been reading online from other people, like it just seems, and like from friends and stuff, it seems like it's going in a really cool direction. And the kind of as it should be, the MC is the one that's kind of like, it seems like he's the one pulling the strings, which I think
yeah,
is really, really cool. And I like that now he's kind of like differentiated himself a lot from Naruto, and it feels like he's kind of becoming into his own
yeah.
based on what I've heard. So,
No,
um,
yeah, it's definitely. I would agree with that.
yeah, yeah. So just kind of like from what I've heard, and because I don't have like more concrete like first person perspective, he's in the safe middle for me.
Get that. Yeah. So yeah, so my fourth pick on this list, I'm gonna go with Yuji on this list. I love Yuji. Yuji's like JJK has become my like fantasy realm. I'll just go and read JJK manga. I love the manga. It's so great. I've kept up with it the entire time. That ending though. Not gonna talk about that here. Uh, but for the most part, in my opinion, I feel that Yuji has been like he's been a main character. Yeah, obviously with Sukuna, you can't really like you. They're obviously two different characters, and once we get to a certain point in the manga, they become completely two different characters, and you really get to see a lot of like Yuji's other side, pet post Shibuya incident, and it's kind of sad in a way because he is like a Naruto type of character where he's like happy and
Yeah,
he
no,
gets things
definitely.
done, and then he really gets obviously torn down by a lot of the things that happen. And I think that that's really deep of the character, and I like that a lot. And I'm not the thing I think that gives him like a knock is that the story about JJK is just so vast and there's so much happening throughout the
Yeah.
entirety of the story. And I feel that especially towards the middle where it's just a lot of battles. And while there is like a running plot, it kind of like takes a side swing to being about Megami, takes a lot of side swing where you learn about the Kusakabe coalition. There's just a lot of things happening where he kind of becomes a part of the crew, like which
Mm.
is fine. I mean, it's not like you don't want your side characters to have shine. I just don't necessarily feel like Yuji was the one pushing the narrative per se,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's like sacrilege to some JJK fans. I know people swear by Yuji, like he's finally. But the thing is, I also think JJK fans would agree that like he only really got the shine
Mm-hmm.
at the post Gojo fight, the last like what 20 chapters, and like that's I just don't think, and he didn't really get to finish off the this is spoilers, sorry, spoilers. It just ended. Sorry. But like, I'm trying to avoid it. I'm trying to keep it where it's like I don't think that he finished off. And I mean the manga finished really badly, so it's kind of hard to say like, the character didn't get a fitting end because the manga didn't really do anything for anybody. So it's like, you know, maybe it's a failure on the writing aspect of it, but I just don't think that Yuji will have the lasting effect that I feel like some of the characters on this list above it do and already have. And maybe with time we'll see more. Maybe we'll get a Jujutsu Kaisen. Like I don't know.
Jujutsu Kaisen, that's fun.
Like I don't know. But like for right now, and again, I love Jujutsu Kaisen.
He does. He
I
loves
love
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu. I read all that. I love it. I love it. And I just can't sit here and tell you that like he's my favorite character. Like he's like top two for me in the entirety of JJK. So it's not like I don't like Yuji. I just don't I just don't think compared to these other characters that he stacks
Mm-hmm.
up. But yeah, that's my number four.
Mm-hmm.
What's your next one?
I think all of that's fair. And mine is Yuji.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, because again, I think that there are other characters here that kind of hold up a little bit better than Yuji. Um, I didn't read the manga, but I am caught up with anime and the movie. Um, I feel that Yuji is almost kind of like the typical like MC, like he kind of follows the typical MC formula. Um, and I do wish that he had more of a chance to um how do I want to say that? I guess like not live up to expectations, but to kind of like show that he like act on the promise that he had, if that makes sense.
It's
Um,
it's hard like that statement right there. It's hard to definitively say he didn't and hard to
yeah,
definitively say he did.
yeah,
That's just the issue with the manga. You know, who knows?
yeah.
Up for
So,
interpretation.
but up until like what I know, um, I really liked where his story was going, like his personal story was going. But I do also agree that he doesn't seem to be pushing narrative a lot in
Yeah.
the show. It feels like him tied to the other characters is what drives things to happen. I feel like Sukuna more so than Yuji is the one that drives plot. And I guess that makes sense because Sukuna is the main one of the main antagonists. So it makes sense, I guess. But it's a big I guess. So,
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, you know, obviously you haven't read it, so it's like until until it gets animated, until like you read it, like I'm telling you, it's just like
yeah, maybe my thoughts will change. I don't
yeah,
know.
I've talked to so many people that like that are like super in the Jujutsu Kaisen that are like will straight up just have yap sessions about how much they love Gojo or how much they love Sukuna or how much they love Geto, and it's like I'm not saying there aren't people that like don't like Yuji. I just think he gets
Yeah, I
caught
think
lost. He
Yuji's a
just gets
likable
yeah,
character.
yeah. He just gets lost in the thing. And I think why I'm being an apologist right now for Yuji is like it's just I love the dude. It's hard to tell to do this. All right.
It's hard to love you.
It's hard. It's hard. No, it's not hard to love you. It's hard to defend you. It's hard to defend you
We
against these other.
can't keep doing this.
Yeah. My number three is gonna be Tanjiro. Um,
I know.
yeah. Listen,
I know.
I've come around on Tanjiro a lot more. He would have been like my number five.
Yeah, you would have
He was my
been
number five or like my worst one, like probably just 6 months ago. That's what, listen, this is what happens when you watch things and sub, but you like all the dub actors more and you get attached to them and you know their names and you like maybe you've met them a couple times and you're like that guy, right? This is what happens when you watch the dub of it and you're like, you know what, so much of a better character. Like, so my dislike for even Demon Slayer as a whole is like I really hate that first season. I think the first season is so fucking boring and it's almost unwatchable. The first
It's
17
not a
episodes are
watch.
almost unwatchable. That's just listen, I know people are gonna fucking come for me. I don't care. I don't care.
I
It's not
hope
just
they
me that has
do.
went through this.
Gang, let's
It's not
get
just me that has went through the same thing. I literally looked up online and my when does Demon Slayer look up when does Demon
you
Slayer
just
get good?
Google, am I crazy for not liking?
Yeah, yeah. I looked up when does Demon Slayer get good, and it's at episode 17 of the first. It is a crazy number of episodes in that first season. Why is there 20 like 6 episodes in the first season? Every other season's like 12. Like why? First off, that's your problem. You spread out your narrative too thin there. But like or I don't know, too thick. I don't know what it is, but like it is a kind of a mess for me, and I just think it's really boring because I don't really like Tanjiro as just being by himself. As soon as we get introduced to like Zenitsu, and I'd hate the Zenitsu for tons of but he's
Yeah,
really
he
cool.
like he's
I muted the TV every time
yeah.
he spoke. Every single time Zenitsu started speaking, I muted the TV. But like you meet, I don't like Zenitsu and Tanjiro by themselves, but I like when all three of them are together. I like Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Tanjiro together are like those are my dudes. I'll run through a wall for those guys. Those guys are my dudes. But every time Tanjiro kind of like he's just kind of boring. He's not like he's anything wrong with him. He's just kind of boring to me. But he gets a lot of juice after we get to the Rengoku stuff in season 2 and moving forward. Like I love Tengen and everything else, so it's like he just gets a lot more personality, and I know that that's kind of the point of characters. You learn more about them, you see more, they grow as a character, and that's what makes supposed to make you like them. And these are all things that you know because you people are very smart. But like I just, it's just for me personally, like that first season was such a drag, and I didn't get to watch the Swordsmith Village arc in dub until literally just this last week. So I really didn't like the Swordsmith Village arc at all. I still think it is one of the weakest arcs besides the first season. I don't even honestly, I don't even really count the first season because I just don't like it that much. It's just all the way down there. But it's like, yeah, I actually like the Swordsmith Village arc a lot more after watching it in dub. And
Yeah,
like
it's good.
yeah, and Tanjiro beefed up his points for me because I was like, this is some good stuff coming out of him when he's fighting that the dude with the big fucking boil on his head. I can never remember his name,
Yeah,
but
beats me.
like when he's given that speech, where when he was yelling at Akaza about like you're a coward, that whole thing in the
Yeah.
second season, and he backs it up in this fourth season, and he's like he's yelling at the dude. He's like, "You suck, you stupid, I hate you. This is why you demons are gonna lose, because you know you ain't me." Like he's just giving him the fucking the 1-2, right? And he's just not he's just not caring. And it is like it that was really like, all right, dude, I fuck with you hardcore. And yeah, I mean, Demon Slayer itself is really cool. So it's like I pushed up Tanjiro above Yuji, so you're welcome. You're welcome for this.
Thanks.
I did this.
Thanks.
I did this for you.
Thanks. Thanks so much. All I could have
All right,
asked for.
now we're in our top two. What's your number two?
You see, this is where it gets a little difficult for me because then I kind of have to like discern what I like the most from these final two characters and do I think they're like MC like superb MC worthy. Um
Superb.
um I think I'm gonna go Tanjiro next. Um and I know you don't you don't like my number one then. But I have my reasons. And it was very
Please
difficult,
tell
which
us.
I will talk about once we get there. Um but as we talked about um last night, I really like the like overarching theme of Demon Slayer is that like you don't have to be physically strong in order to be like strong. And I think that Tanjiro is like the biggest pusher of that message. Because like he gets his whole like fucking family obliterated. And then he has to carry around his dead sister everywhere. And he still has like the biggest smile on his face. And he's still like the sweetest guy. And it's not that he like doesn't show that it bothers him, but he tries not to. I think that's like that resonates a lot with me. I think that like he's so strong for like an emotional strength. And I really, really admire that. And I feel that because he has a lot of like that like inner fortitude and like determination, he's like big MC energy. Um, I do agree that the first season is fucking boring, but I I really liked the animation style and the art style of Demon Slayer, so they kind of pushed it up. It made it enjoyable to watch for me. As somebody that like really looks at art before I start thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
Um, but I do agree that like he also gets more I don't want to say more interesting, but like his character gains more depth around the time that Rengoku dies. Because it's kind of like it follows like the narrative of like there's an actual word for it, but I can't remember it right now, where like when a hero goes on like a quest, it's like really common in
The
like
hero's
Greek.
journey.
Yeah, like in Greek literature. That was like the fall of like Sensei, you know, like
Yeah.
he like that was like the biggest catalyst for him to get better and to be better, not
Yeah.
only for like himself, but like because he realized that all of these people like are depending on him more than he actually thought. So I don't know. That's Best Boy. I love Tanjiro.
I get you. I know. Demon Slayer is a super simple story that is done very, very well. Uh, I almost say like what your positives are for him sticking through and being, this happy dude the entire time is almost why I like Yuji's character more
Mm-hmm.
than I like Tanjiro a little bit. And I almost wish that this is how Tanjiro's character would have been a little bit, where it's like I just don't think it's realistic, in my opinion, to be like just a super happy dude and have to go through everything he went through, especially in the. I know, like, I get it. Like, you don't be sitting there crying about everything that happens. You're gonna have to move on. You have to be strong. You need to do this stuff, and that's the point of your character. But I almost feel like in the moments that like every one of these characters you see that kind of go off to their own and kind of like break down, and we kind of see it maybe once or maybe once in throughout the entirety of the show, but it's like, and I know that's just not his character, and that's just me adding on to something that's not necessarily there, but it's like, I almost feel like that's a real. I know they're fighting demons that can't go outside in the daytime, but it's like realistic factors, like the kid's like what 15,
Yeah,
and it's
give
like
or take.
not once did he sit there with his sister at night like and cry about what had happened, or like have a mourning session, or have like they kind of do a funeral thing for them in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that that's done really well. Um, and I know that's kind of his point, it was to move on. And they use their deaths as like, the ghosts help them in the entertainment arc district. But it almost just felt like it was like, it just didn't feel realistic for me how Tanjiro acted in the first season. It felt like a lot of it was just copium and moving forward and not like kind of toxic, like this is the objective, this is what we have to do, this is how I am. And it's like, I don't know, just something about that just didn't like it didn't like connect for me there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just and listen, I think it could be fought either way, that's was the point, that's what they were doing, and I understand that. Or you could feel my way and be like, I just don't necessarily feel that that's like a realistic response. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally. Like, I think Tanjiro is a really good character. Like, as we get on further in the story, I've read the manga. We and you both finished the manga,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I know Tanjiro like becomes the man, especially in
Big dog.
yeah, in the Infinity Castle like arc, and towards the end of the story, he's just big dude. He's doing shit, and like he becomes like the alpha like MC type of dude
Mm-hmm.
like in this next arc. And I think once you see him
Oh,
like
so
ordering
excited.
people, yeah, like you're gonna see him not ordering people around, but like taking charge and like jumping into things that you would think Hashira are doing that you've
Mm-hmm.
seen them do. You can't see it in the Swordsmith Village arc too.
Yeah.
But you see it on a way bigger spectrum when everybody is there, and you're gonna be like, this guy is the fucking man. Like he is just. There's so many moments in the Infinity Castle arc where I was just like, he's so cool. He's cool, dude.
Yeah,
Cool.
he's so cool.
I just wish we would have got that more.
How, given like everything you've said, how do you feel about the way Tanjiro performed during the Mugen Train arc?
I mean, I think that there was a lot of like, I think compared to, let's just because we have Zenitsu and we have Inosuke there, like he's the main character of the show, so it's hard to be like, objectively he was the main focal point, so of course he's gonna take charge and do those things. But I think like in terms of like actual effect on what had pushed everything forward, it's like he did that one kid was like, "Wow, it's so nice inside your soul. I don't want to kill you." Um, okay, that happened, but then I feel like Inosuke did the majority of the work there. Like Tanjiro got stabbed by the conductor and was like, well, that sucks. Um, and like, yeah, I don't really think he did a whole lot of things in that arc, to be honest. I mean, it's only like what, 6, 7 episodes. It's just like it wasn't really a lot there for him in terms of like impact wise. Like Inosuke did a lot, Zenitsu did a lot. Like Zenitsu basically like held down the fort for like three of those cars. Like that's a crazy feat in itself too. I mean, like obviously Rengoku did what, like eight like train cars, and then Zenitsu did three by himself, which is crazy. Uh, and Inosuke and him took out the demon kind of towards the end, and I think he's fine. I think the thing that shines most for him is like his speech and yelling at like you know, Asuka, what's his name?
Akaza.
Akaza. Yeah, completely forgot his name. I think he shines there in that moment, and I think he shines when he's having his moment with Rengoku. But like, he doesn't take charge or do a lot of things until really the Swordsmith Village arc. Like,
Okay.
even in
Mm-hmm.
the entertainment district arc, he's being helped by Tengen the entire time. Like, he fights Daki a little bit, but Daki wasn't even trying. Let's be honest, Daki was like fucking around for a lot of that like fight, and was also fighting with Tengen and the other demon slayers underground. So she was split. She wasn't even giving her full attention to Tanjiro, and that was like then when she did, he got messed up, and he had to like use two different sword styles at once, and like that was cool, but they wouldn't really call that like pushing the battle. And he used like his intelligence to make the ugly dude like look like, oh, he used the distraction to do whatever, and then but he got saved by Tengen, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like so. But the only time he really does the stuff by himself really is in the Swordsmith Village arc, and that's like leading up to the Infinity Castle. So like once we only really get to see him, like I said, be the man, if you want to say that type of verbiage, like really in the Swordsmith Village arc. He does cool things, but he isn't the one pushing the fight, in my
Okay,
opinion.
no. Yeah, I referenced that because you had like talked about how you don't like you feel that you don't see him kind of show like remorse for what had happened to him. Do I understand that right?
I not remorse, but I feel like there wasn't any time for him to have like an emotional moment.
Okay, yeah, like to
Like,
feel something
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I referenced that because I feel like when he's put in that dream sequence by whatever the fuck his name is, the
Oh
demon.
yeah, where he has to kill himself a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, like I feel that really like shows that he like wished that he could just stay there because that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be with his family. And
Yeah.
then having to like um have like an ego death over and over and over again. I feel like that's like that
Oh
I
yeah.
think that really shows some remorse there.
Well, I will point out though that I did say that in the first season specifically,
Yeah, no, no, no. I like I
you
understand
don't
you.
really get to
Yeah.
see that. I think
My
for sure there are like tons of moments that are I'm talking about more specifically not when he's forced to do it, because he's forced to go through that,
that's fair. Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't on his own. He wasn't trying to kill himself in every dream by himself. And like that is such like an extreme moment that like where the narrative like pushes us towards to finally see that,
Mm.
and like which is fair. Again, it's like we just didn't see it
Yeah.
under his own power to go through those kind of things and show us like that there's more than just like like just him smiling
I
constantly
like
and
wasn't
being
looking at you. I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
all right, all right, all right. Our audio only listeners are like, what was the silence? It was me staring at the camera smiling. That's what Tanjiro does a lot. um but yeah, no, just me. I think
No,
he,
no. And I mean,
yeah,
I'm also
yeah.
like, I was also saying that because I feel like that was like a moment too that like forced him to like reflect on that more than he did in the first season. That's what I meant. Like
Yeah.
he was kind of like, it's almost like the stages of grief, right? Like he was like in denial and then like forcing himself to keep busy, and then that happens. He's like, "Oh, I need to like
Yeah.
address this." And then it kind of like he starts to like better accept it, I think. That's why I referenced that, like to kind of like
Totally.
jump.
Totally get you. Okay, so that's your number two pick. My number two pick is gonna be Aaron Yeager. I don't even really like Attack on Titan's my like my B minus, my C
Yeah.
plus.
Hot
Like
take,
I
he
my
hates Attack on Titan.
yeah, I don't hate Attack on Titan. I just dislike the last two seasons of it. I'm not gonna go into this now, but I think Aaron has a really interesting story. It's like, Anakin Skywalker. He has
Yeah, so
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
admit he
Yeah,
is an
yeah, okay.
Anakin
Okay,
Skywalker
all right. We've
character.
come around to it.
I win.
You win. You've won. You heard it here,
I
folks. You heard
win.
it here, folks. She's always right.
Thank you. Thank
She
you.
can't be wrong
Finally.
about anything. I'm never right. She's
Nothing.
always right. Nothing I say is right ever, ever when it comes to um no, he's an interesting character. He has a lot of things going for him that, like, narratively speaking, goes from like regular shonen protag to like antagonist, and it's interesting to see how a character can just mold his own path and also be held to a story that he wrote to be
Mhm.
free. What is freedom? Who knows? Is he free? Is he not free? I don't know. You decide. And like I think that's an interesting story with Aaron. I There are plenty of moments in Attack on Titan that I felt you know when he's killing or in the basement, not in the basement scene, but when he goes to like the church thing and they go into that basement, he's being held by the family, and like
Mm-hmm.
that then he turns and like, eats, and it's like that's such a crazy scene to me. That whole thing is just crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
the visuals, and like you see that had happened before, and you see like when he gets activated by Historia,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like what the fuck. Um, there are so many just like cool. Also, the whole thing with Rhina in season 4 when he's like where he uses Falco. That's my favorite. Aaron,
Yeah.
I call Aaron an ableist because he is an ableist, and it is an absolute crazy thing that he did where Falco's like, "This is my friend from a war veteran. He says he knows you, Rhina. He told me to meet you in this basement secluded from everybody." And it's just fucking Aaron being
Just,
like,
he takes his, it's me.
"Yeah, no, he seriously is like." He go he, Kidding. Like he literally does the Toby thing, the fucking Ryan, and Ryan is having a panic attack.
He's like,
Oh my God. That whole scene is it's so funny and it's so scary at the same time. And you're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then afterwards, the battle that ensues after where he knows what's gonna happen from here on out. And he's like, what are you waiting for, Mikasa? And like like he knew everything was gonna happen the way it happened.
mm-hmm.
Um, which is why like it makes him all more tragic in a way where it's like this guy is crying with he goes from crying with the random people, the Eldians, right? Not yeah, no, the
No,
Marlians.
he's an Eldian,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's crying with like the descendants on the other side, like with that one kid, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm doing this to you," and he's like, "What the hell?" And then we cut to his face getting
Oh,
crushed, and
that
it's
is
like,
like I
yeah,
was like a mess during that whole
insane.
part.
Also, like Aaron has such cool fights in the entire
Mm-hmm.
series. Like, I mean, I'm a big like rock'em sock'em. Whoever wants to fight, it's sick. He has a lot of sick moments. I mean, from his first turning into a Titan form, fighting against fighting against the female Titan, and
Yeah.
then his entrance when he's fighting the really cool what was that? What was the Titan that he fought in season 4 with like who can make things out of bones? and everything.
Oh, was
Whatever
that
shifter that
the was that like the Iron Titan or something
maybe.
or
I don't know, but the
something like
whoever one
that?
that he eats,
I have
like
to
the
know.
yeah, whoever one he just straight up munches on right after beating her isn't an insane like that was such a crazy like 5 minutes of fights. There was so much happening in that
Hmm.
first little part.
It was the Armored Titan.
Yeah, the armor titan. Yeah, when he eats her, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was that power is so underutilized. Like that power was like a sick power, and she just got wrecked in the first like. It was also gross when she was like when he went to bite her and her like teeth break off, and
Yeah. No, that was insane.
that was gross.
So crazy.
But yeah, I think he the things that make really cool MC for me are he has really cool fights. It's pretty deep and has long hair and it can be cool. Um, and I think Aaron gets extremely moody. He gets extremely cool, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're like, God damn, you know what? I fuck with this guy, but
Mm-hmm.
also like don't fuck with him because he's not a good person. So
Mm-hmm.
we hate him. And I think that's what makes a great character. You can equally like him and hate them at the same time. And like that's why I don't like Attack on Titan as a whole for other things besides Aaron's problematic, like future, past, present. Uh, but I think he overall, I think he ranks higher than the other characters on this list because his story is complete and also like I feel like he has a full character arc development. He
Mm-hmm.
also breaks the total regular archetype when it comes to
Yeah.
what a character arc is
Mm-hmm.
and builds a new one halfway through. And it's pretty crazy because he completes his own pro tag and tag thing by himself. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's it's a crazy, crazy thing they did there. And I think that they did a good job of that. And that's why he's my number two. Who is your number one?
Well, my number one surprise is Aaron. Um, for you took a lot of my talking points. That like I
What?
don't think like no, scratch that. I think that Aaron's character really turns what it means to kind of be a main character on its head. His like character really breaks that formula. Like he's very different from like a Naruto or like a Goku-esque character type who are more traditional MCs or pro tags. He's like both pro tag and antag at the exact same time, and you don't really like see that. Or like if you see it, you don't see it as successful as Aaron's character does. And it was hard for me to decide if I wanted him to be my number one or Tanjiro because Tanjiro is definitely a more traditional MC. So it's kind of like asking the question, what makes a good MC?
Yeah.
And I think that what differentiates Aaron from everyone else is that he's the story. Like he's the one that's propelling his story and he's the one that is like taking us back like he's the one that's manipulating the whole thing. And I think that like it's just so interesting as a plot point and as like just like a character. like I also have like problems with Attack on Titan as a whole, but I think that Aaron as a character, he's so complete and complex. Like you can't not like everybody knows Aaron. Like you can't just like think about anime and like not like have Aaron brought up in the mix.
Right.
Like I think he's so recognizable because of all of the crazy things he's done. And then like outside of his like antag nature that we get like later on, he's still like that like typical like MC at the very beginning. Um,
Yeah.
so it's he's like the jack of all trades. Like he just like has it all. Um, so I decided that Aaron is definitely big number one MC.
Yeah, I think he's also kind of a cool character because he's a shonen antag in like a basically kind of like a horror anime.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think that that's a cool dynamic, which is why I really, really like the first two seasons of it. I don't really like horror stuff, and I don't really call Attack on Titan horror, but it is like it can be
It's more
scary.
gory, I would say. It's
Yeah.
more like
It's like
gore
a thriller. It's like a
orientated.
thriller.
Yeah.
I would say it's kind of thriller based. Like it's kind of like the what's beyond the walls that's keeping us in here. And like why are we here? What is happening? You know? And like it has that the town kind of feel. You watch that movie The Town?
No.
Okay, it's like there's this medieval town that is like surrounded by trees and there's monsters on the outside of it and people are like trying to keep people inside the town, but every time they go out there they die and they're like what the fuck? Spoilers for The Town. I think it's called The Town. Um
It's
I hope
actually not called The
I maybe it's
Town.
not called The Town. That could be the Boston. I could be completely thinking it's the movie from the Boston. It's if whatever movie I'm talking about, I'm sure by the plot points you can understand. But anyway, at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, they like leave. It's like this town is like medieval basically, and they're like keeping people in this like very old kind of way of thinking, like if you die, Jesus will kill you, whatever that sort of thing. If you leave, the demons will kill you, and there's like spots of like monsters in the town, and people are like
What
ah
kind
right.
of movie is
Yeah. It's fucked up. Anyway, one of the girls escapes like the town, and while she's running, she finds a road, like a paved road, and like a car goes by her, and you're like, what the fuck? And it
I want
turns
to
out
watch
it, yeah, it
this.
turns out it's like an entire just it's just a simulated fake thing, and they just did it to like keep these people like in there to punish them for something. It's a whole it's so fucked up. But anyway, that's how I kind of felt with Attack on Titan. It had this like what's keeping them in there and
Hmm.
what are the mysteries that are, you know, it was very, very
And they
cool.
were being punished, like
And yeah,
technically.
and I think that that was really cool because it felt like very thriller like, and that's why I liked it. But anyway, yes, Aaron Yeager, my second, your first, my first is Deku, my boy Deku. Deku, the main,
Boo.
the main,
Tomato.
the main man,
Boo.
Deku from My Hero Academia.
I get it.
Boy,
I do. I get
boy,
it.
do I love myself. I love Deku when he's at his best. He's one of the best characters in Shonen, in my opinion.
I understand.
He has really cool powers. He kicks ass when he wants to kick ass. I think the last like two seasons have been very maybe yeah, honestly even past after he becomes the true inheritor of all of her when he starts getting his powers and stuff, like all of them, and he stops breaking his limbs by just sneezing. Like after that whole thing is like uh he's very I mean even prior to that he's very he's inspires a lot of people. I think that he
Hmm.
showcases everything that you want out of a who you would be like, oh yeah, I look up to him. You know, I think that there's a lot
Hmm.
of characters in My Hero that looked at Deku for inspiration and look for him for leadership. And you know, he earns that role too. It's not like he gets that role. He earns it. And I think that's a lot. That's a big difference between I think like characters like Yuji in my opinion, where like he just kind of gets all these powers. He just kind of is strong. We find out why he's strong, but it's the same thing as like Naruto. Like Naruto, you think is about hard work and everything, but he's actually just like the incarnation of it of a god. And it's like it kind of takes away the first part of OG Naruto, in my opinion. But it's like you know, that's it's not the case for Deku. Like Deku goes through the trials and tribulations of a character that needs to learn how to become this all-powerful hero and use his friends as some to complete his missions to save the world. And I think that that's something to be admired for. And I think that he
Hmm.
does that the best, in my opinion, of all these characters. Not that we're basing it off like who's the best hero, but it's at the same time for me, for who's the best MC of the last like 10 years or so, I think it's Deku. I think he has the the outfit I think sticks out for a lot of people. Like you when you see Deku, you know who he is. Um like when you my favorite character is All Might, but like Deku is my second favorite character. Like is he? I think he's really, and I know this is your, you know what? What is your detractors of Deku really quick? Because I want to intersect right there. What? Why don't you like Deku?
It was hard for me to connect with him in the first season. So as the story progressed, it was harder for me to continue connecting with him.
Yeah,
But I don't like that's the thing. I don't disagree with what like people's arguments are when it comes to why they like Deku. Cause I see it. Like I see he is a very inspiring character. He is like a big a big role model for like the other characters in the story, but it was just really hard for me to connect. Like I found him a little annoying at the beginning. um and I think my main issues aren't like with his character, they're more so with the way that the story's written. um that makes it like harder for me to connect. But I do see other people's arguments, like especially like yours. Like I agree with what you're saying. It was just really hard for me to connect with him as a main character. But like after we watched Your Next, and we'll like talk more about that later. Um
yeah,
After we watched that, I felt like I felt the magic a little bit more.
yeah. He was
I felt
amazing in this
yeah,
movie.
he was really good. I felt the sparkle. And that's like it made me wish that I had that a little more as
Yeah,
the main story was progressing. Um but I agree with you. So I
yeah.
think my main issues stem from the way it's written, not so much with Deku's character, if that makes sense.
No, I get you. Yeah, I mean, like the things that like make I think Deku different for me as to why he's one of my favorite like he's not even in like my top 10 for anime characters, but like in terms of this being, one of the biggest like anime mangas to ever exist. It's just hard for me to be like, not looking at all the individual moments of like what makes this character so great. I mean, when he's fighting like La and the other dude that apparently they're like only 10 years difference in age. Who knows? They look really weird. Uh,
Gentle Criminal
Gentle Criminal and La
and La Brava. How do you remember La Brava, but you don't remember Gentle Criminal?
Not great at names. Uh, but when he's fighting them, he's like, "Oh, you guys aren't bad guys." He's like, "You guys are just like troubled people." And he figures out a way to like stop them, but also tells the authorities to be like, "Hey, they need some help." And I think that was honestly a moment for me where I was like, "Oh, he's not just getting. He was never mad at them for stopping
No.
because he couldn't use his power because otherwise he was going to be caught up by the League of Villains and they were going to find where he was hiding and it was that whole story plot that was going on. So we had to wrap this up very quickly and the way he handled that situation was just like it was honestly amazing. And then the moments that he has with Todoroki where he tells Todoroki that you're more than just your dad and like that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's some
Mm-hmm.
crazy work. And
Yeah.
that's first season Deku where he's throwing his body around with his disgusting purple limbs and he's telling Todoroki like you're more than this and I'm like, "Oh God, you're so cool." And he does when he fights with Bakugo when they like have their beat down in the fucking the
Mm-hmm.
alley and he's like telling him where he's like this ain't it dude this is not he gives him the Takano Jutsu
Yeah,
100%
the
and
biggest
then
Takno Jutsu.
fucking All Might shows up and is like yo dog like chill he's like I'm sorry I did that to you man um but yeah I mean like he tells people like you have the smile he wants everybody to have a smile on their face to like power through things and it's just I don't know, man. I can't really name a better MC than like Deku for being. I know he gets clowned on so much in the community for being like such like a little twink, and he's
He
like,
is a little
you know,
twink.
like he has all these moments where he doesn't really have a love interest. He's just kind of like he's all business all the time in a way too. Like he is very he's on it. Um, and I just think that that's All Might is my favorite character in all of anime. So like All Might choosing him to be the inheritor for All for One is like it's earned and given and shown through so many different ways, whether it's him, like I said, fighting people without being angry, recognizing that they just need help, like, and also knowing when to like buckle down and be like, oh no, you're a bad dude. Like when he's fighting Overhaul and he's like in the whole thing with Eerie and he just goes ham after like what happens with Mirio, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like that the utter emotion that is from that fight. Like I don't really get emotional with a lot of things. Like My Heroes get made me emotional so many times, and like I think we forget because the war arc is, in my opinion, one of the worst written arcs in all of like
Don't
recent
even get me
manga.
started, dude.
It is
Don't
a
even get me
mess.
started.
And that's what happened. That's what they're doing right now in the anime. And it's like it's kind of hard to follow. It's not really animated that well. And I don't think Bones is doing a really good job of like keeping it all together. But these last
Bones
five
put
episodes
all
have
of
been really
their
sick.
like Bones put all of their energy into this movie. For real.
Uh, the last five
Like
episodes, you haven't seen them, but the last five episodes have been pretty sick. They've been really, really good. Uh, I just don't, I just feel like the whole war arc as a whole is that's a different story too. But it's just like as we go on, it's harder to you forget about those moments that made My Hero such a great story for so many people, especially kids, to watch
Mhm.
this show and think, if when I have kids, I think I will show them My Hero because I think that it's the best. Like, I think it's the most kid appropriate, but it's also like one of the best stories that showcase the inspiration that you could. It's the Rock. What if Rock Lee had powers? Like, yeah, what if Rock Lee kept going? But like, I think he does. I think Deku is one of the best characters because of that, and that's why he's my number one. The number one hero. He's the number one hero. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with our list? Do you have your own list? Put your list in the bottom in the comments below. And while you're down there, leave a like, subscribe to the page, hit the noti bell. You know what to do.